question I get all the time is who's the best cleaner and what's the best cleaner team? If you only had to pick 4, who would you pick? So the 4 I would pick would be Carly, it would be Hoffman, it would be Mom, and it would be Walker. All right. And now what I'm going to encourage you to do is to listen to why I would pick these 4 characters, because ideally I would love if somebody doesn't just pick Carly because SwingPoynt said so. I want you to understand why we do what we do. Okay. Also, one thing to note, if you are watching this after April 12th, 2022, there's a good chance that what I'm talking about in this video is going to change because the Tunnels of Terror comes out on that day. And not only are just 2 whole cleaners coming out anyway, but I wouldn't be surprised if they touch these other characters here too and mess with them. So this is going to teach you things, but it might again become a little bit irrelevant after April 12th. So let's start with Carly here on the right and then work our way through the cleaners. And then you'll probably learn a couple more things about the game as we talk about them. Okay. So why do we pick Carly? She's one of the 4 I said that I would pick in pretty much any team. The reason why we go with Carly is due to her team use speed buff. This is a disproportionately useful buff. One reason being is that not a lot of people pick use speed cards, and then also use speed affects almost everything. So use speed affects how quickly you revive. It affects how quickly you defib. It affects how quickly you get people off the wall. It affects how quickly you open up boxes. Also, it affects how quickly you do objectives, such as the Sound of Thunder howitzer. If you have good use speed on your team, then that makes it so that you can potentially take out the ogre before the ogre starts taking you out, because the howitzer can one-shot the ogre. It makes it so when you're on Brave Bird in Act 2, you can get those boxes done a lot faster before you get swarmed. There's a bunch of different areas where Carly's use speed is extremely effective and extremely helpful for the entire team, because again, it's a team use speed buff. That means it eats up basically 4 cards, because typically 50% use speed is a whole card. So just Carly being there saves your whole team 4 cards. And if you think of the game in the way where your whole team has 60 cards to play with, that's a pretty high value card. Another fantastic part about Carly is her relationship with quick items. She has 2 quick item slots out the gate, which means that she can hold something like 2 toolkits, which allows the rest of your team to diversify the items they're holding. Also, on the topic of toolkits, she starts with the toolkit. And every single beginning of an act benefits off of 2 toolkits. 1-1, you can use a toolkit on the bridge, but then also the tool room. On the beginning of Act 2, you could use it to skip the garage if you get the garage door. And the area after the bridge usually is teeming with a bunch of alarm doors, which can really put you in a pinched position. Almost always have an alarm door in that scenario. And then for the beginning of Act 3, you have the tool room, but then also you get to use the combine if you have 2 toolkits. So Carly starting with a toolkit is useful in every scenario just about. And then the final part that I think is really useful about Carly is just the weapon she has. The AK-47 is really good. The Tech 9 is really, really good. You could use a white Tech 9 basically the whole game. So even if Carly switches up her primary, then somebody else on the team has a good AK-47. She's stacked. She has a bunch of cool things about her. And if you do happen to care about the senses nearby hazards and mutations, that could be useful to you as well. It allows you to do things like on Garden Party, you can see through the walls of the garden, which allows you to take out sleepers through the walls. And it also just gives you a general idea of where things are coming. Let's say you're holding out on a doorway, something's coming from the right or the left, you know exactly where to look and call it out for your team. Now let's move on to Jim here. Jim, in my opinion, is one of the higher skill cap characters in the game, but that doesn't make him one of the best characters in the game. So basically, if Jim's running on full cylinder here, he can have an extra 25% damage due to his precision kills granting 2.5 damage. Also, he can provide the team with team weak spot damage. I think the team weak spot damage is a little weak because I'm pretty sure Jim's team weak spot damage is additive with all the other weak spot cards, which makes it lose a little bit of value. I think his precision kills is its own multiplicative category, but either way, 10% team weak spot damage isn't that big of a deal for the reasons of it's only 10%. Also, a lot of people just tend to pick weak spot cards in general. I do like the theme that more damage is more strong, which is more better and more things die. But when we go and take a look at all the other characters, I think Jim falls a little short. Also, if you take a look at Jim's starting weapons, the M1A, in my opinion, is really not that great, especially the gray variant of it. And then the Magnum is, it can be fun, but it's basically just a worse Deagle. The only advantage it has over the Deagle is a higher ammo pool. And Jim has no clear. He's purely precision out the gate, which can put him in a not so great position if you have a team that ain't so great at clearing. Jim's clearing is going to be more along the lines of big hitter quitter with bullet penetration, and that doesn't always work out. However, if you are good at not getting hit and really scaling up that damage, then Jim can be a lot of fun to melt things very quickly. And like I said, more damage, more better, and that makes it so less things can hit you. So if you could be good with Jim, Jim can be good, but I think other characters are better. Now on to Hoffman. Hoffman is one of the Elite Four that I had picked. Reason why we pick Hoffman right now is simply because he's broken. He's actually broken, I'm pretty certain. So if you take a look at what Hoffman does, Hoffman has a chance to find ammo or an offensive accessory whenever he kills a Ridden. This is new. This is not something Hoffman always had. It's supposed to, I think, have a 1% chance to spawn an offensive accessory, but it kind of seems like it's playing out in a way where it's a 1% chance per item, and each one of those items rolls every single time. So he actually has like a 5 or 6% chance to find an item every time he kills a Ridden, which means about every, 20 Ridden, he's getting an offensive accessory. And there's so many reasons why that's broken, especially from an economy perspective, but he just keeps blowing stuff up as he goes. On top of the fact that he starts with an extra offensive pocket, and that's a really powerful benefit as well. And he makes it so he drops ammo. I don't know if he drops ammo equally throughout the 4 ammo types. I think he might be a little bit assault rifle favored, but even then, Hoffman is so good right now because he's broken. Is he always going to be this way? I don't know. They're probably going to fix him. But as of now, Hoffman's really good because Hoffman's really broken. Go ahead and have fun with it while it lasts. Also, Hoffman has some of the funniest voice lines in the game, so if you want a good laugh, go ahead and hang out with Hoffman. I really hope we meet Hoffman's dad at some point. Now on to Doc, and I think a lot of people might go, you didn't pick Doc? Why are you snubbing Doc from the 4? Reason being is because I think Mom is going to be a little bit more useful as a medic. Okay, let me explain Doc here. So Doc has actually gotten buffed a lot. So what Doc can do is Doc can heal each one of the people on the team for 25 health once per level, but it's actually 30 health because she starts with team healing efficiency. Also, Doc starts with a team effect of team trauma resistance. I like Doc a lot, especially since they buffed her ability to heal teammates. They turned her field bandages into medical accessories, and that provides a lot of value from a group therapy perspective, from a poultice perspective, from a lot of these different cards that benefit if you do something with a medical accessory. I love Doc for that reason. The reason why I don't pick Doc over Mom is because Doc does have some shortcomings. Doc does not have an extra team life, and on Nightmare, you got to get that extra team life somewhere or you're missing out on a huge chunk of the game mechanic-wise. Team trauma resistance, it can be really nice, but also your team can just play better. Sorry. And then in terms of healing efficiency, I think there's a lot of different ways to get healing efficiency, one of which is just buying support item upgrades that basically does the same thing as extra healing efficiency. So you could just play Copper or something like that. Let me explain Mom here and why I think Mom does a little bit more for the team than what Doc does. But don't get me wrong, Doc is a really close second. Really close second. Now let's go on to Mom here, and I think Mom's probably the better medic of the team. Reason being is she starts with an extra support inventory. Now, you could argue that the bandages on Doc is basically like having +4 support inventory. The problem is that it's only going to be bandages, where with Mom here, it could be medkits, or it could be bandages, or it could be pain meds. There's all sorts of things you could do with that extra support slot that Doc does not have. Also, Mom starts with an extra team life, and you need that extra team life. So you either get it from Mom or you have it on somebody else on your team, meaning that Doc has to play a card in order to do the same things that Mom does. You can get away with not having extra healing efficiency. You can't get away without having an extra life. So Doc immediately has to go ahead and play a card just to go ahead and keep up with Mom. Another thing about Mom that I really like is her ability to instantly revive somebody. Even though that does have its shortcomings with how you have to go ahead and save it for an ideal scenario, that ideal scenario could be a really big deal. Let's say 3 people on your team go down and then, oh God, I got to pick somebody up so we can start fighting back. Suddenly that instant revive is the most valuable thing on your whole team. And Doc can't do that. And the only way Doc can get close to doing that is if, again, Doc has to play more cards for revive speed. So suddenly, if you take a look here, Doc has to play Needs of the Many, Doc has to play a Pockets card, and Doc has to play revive speed just to keep up with what Mom can do. Now, on the flip side, you can find more bandages, right? Team healing efficiency, you can just upgrade your items, which you're probably going to do anyway. And the team trauma resistance, I guess you got me there. But I really think that you can just not get hit as much or not go down as much. And then what Mom does provide can be so game-changing over what Doc can do. That's my perspective on it. Also, Mom starts with the range rifle, which is actually a really good weapon and has, I think, the highest weapon pierce out of all the assault rifles in the game. I could be wrong. Also, they keep buffing the ranch rifle for some reason, so it's even better than it was before. Now let's move on to Holly here. And why didn't we pick Holly? The main reason I didn't pick Holly is because she's mainly viewed as the melee character, and you really don't need to play melee to play this game. Honestly, there's a lot of things that melee has in terms of shortcomings that can really get in her way, and I would rather just pick different characters over her. But don't get me wrong, Holly's really good. So Holly can recover stam whenever she kills a Ridden, which makes her really good for a bunch of different scenarios. It can make it so she can keep speedrunning a lot if that's something you're into. Even though I think Evangela is a little bit better for it. Holly can be good at speedrunning with things like pipe bombs. It makes it so that she can just sit there and keep holding down a door. She's really great at shredding common. However, I do think a different fun way to play her is to have a combat knife for small Ridden and then a fire axe for big Ridden. Either way, she also has that damage resistance, which makes her more of the tank role. And then the team stam can be nice, but I also think it's not that big a deal for how I personally play. Don't get me wrong, team stam's fun, but you can find stamina cards, and finding stamina cards provides a huge buff to you right now. And also, if anybody plays any stam in their deck anyway, they're already thinking about that for themselves. They're not really counting on Holly to do that for them. Okay? That's very different than what we were talking about with Carly, where not a lot of people play use speed, but you actually really do need use speed. If somebody wants stam, they tend to put it in their deck anyway, which makes what Holly does a little less valuable. But all this being said, if you do like melee, Holly is the best character for it by a long shot. Now, who knows what Sharice is going to be like, because she has that extra trauma resistance, and that could be really nice on a character like Holly, and Holly does synergize really, really well with Doc, by the way, because of the team trauma resistance. But for now, Holly is definitely the best out of all of them for melee. And now on to Walker. Walker's the last one remaining out of the 4 people I said that I would pick if I had to pick a team of 4. And honestly, what's really funny is that Walker used to be the joke of the team. We would never pick Walker because he was just a worse gym. But they reworked Walker, and I really like his rework. So, what Walker does now is mutations that are pinged by Walker are highlighted and deal 10% less damage. I think this is by far the best part about Walker, because it helps your team focus. It's basically a marks for death aura. Anything that he marks, everybody sees it, and it's screaming at their face, which allows, the lizard brain part of you to go, oh, I should look at that. And then people focus fire it, which makes things die faster. It's not a damage buff, but it's kind of a damage buff. Now, it also reduces the damage of things by 10% if they hit you. That could be kind of nice for bruisers or breakers or like a meatball from an ogre. But again, ideally, you're planning not to get hit anyway. It might save you from a monstrous bruiser, but frankly, again, try not to get hit. I also really like his extra damage, because more damage is more better, so things die more faster. I'd say that a lot. And then also the team health can be really nice too. If anybody's playing any cards along the lines of a minus 10% health, like extra pockets or needs of the many or stuff like that. Walker fills a bunch of different things in that are helpful in just about every single scenario now, and I like that about him. I do think his weapons suck though. I think he starts with the Glock, which isn't bad, but the M4 is always terrible in my mind. I would rather have any other weapon in the game than the M4, even after they buffed it. Maybe I'll change my mind eventually, but I still hate the M4. And now finally on to Evangelo. So Evangelo is the best solo queue character because he can have that built-in stun gun, because he has that quick breakout every 60 seconds. So if you want to speedrun, just go room. It really provides you a lot of insurance from a creepy hawker that somehow got you, or a stalker or something like that. Also, he just moves a little bit faster, which makes him better from the speedrunning perspective, and his stamina regen can help him move pretty quickly too. But he doesn't do a whole lot for a team, in my opinion. The team move speed, again, is really nice because move speed helps you get away from things. But on the same perspective as Holly, people who want more move speed are already taking more move speed. They're not counting on Evangelo to do it for them. All right, so maybe that's the trend you'll see between all of these characters that I picked. The team use speed is something everybody needs, but people don't tend to pick it. Hoffman, I mean, he just blows everything up and he's broken, so that's why he's in there. But then on the perspective of Mom, she does something that the team probably is going to need and is really valuable, aka pick somebody up in a pinch, and nobody else can really provide that or get that. And also the extra team life. Everybody needs the extra team life, but not that many people ever pick Needs of the Many for some freaking reason. People never play Mom and people never play Needs of the Many, and they're extremely important in Nightmare. Also, on the perspective of Walker, he provides that ability to mark things, and not a lot of people play Marked for Death for some reason. Walker also just clears a lot of things out for the whole team. Like, all of these characters that we picked are really good overall team players. And that's where I think Evangelo falls short, because he's not providing anything to the team that the team isn't already providing to themselves in most cases. If you want to talk more about characters and tell me what you think, I stream just about every single night on twitch.tv/SwingPoynt. Link is in the description and also the top comment. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below with who you would pick or what you think, or maybe things you think I should think about more when picking these characters. And then thank you guys so much for being here. Please consider subscribing if this video is helpful to you at all, and I'll see you in the next video that we do around here.